Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to another Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
I'm Count Jackula.
And I sincerely apologize if there's any loud noises outside. There's some construction happening across the street, and we really have no other option if we want to record this. So This is just the way we're going to have to deal. So yeah, we just watched Summer of '84, the latest film by the filmmakers who brought us Turbo Kid. And much like Turbo Kid, it's full of 80s nostalgia, but unlike Turbo Kid, it's not like a super over-the-top movie.
No, it's a very serious movie.
And it's a very realistic movie, too. That's the part I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting the people from Turbo Kid to make that. I expected them to go on and make, like, Hobo with a Shotgun 2 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, in fact, for a while, for, like, a hot second, we thought it actually had been done by the guy who did Hobo with a Shotgun for some reason.
Because they're both Canadian filmmakers who went and made really over-the-top 80s homages.
Yeah.
So, like, you could see, like, the connection in our head. But, like, no, like, I was looking it up, and I'm like, no, these are the Turbo Kid people, not necessarily the Hobo with a Shotgun people, which is fine by me. I love both.
Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't a problem at all.
But I was really impressed with this movie because it showed them taking aspects of their style, but doing a completely different movie.
Well, yeah, this was, unlike Turbo Kid, which was much more based in, like, 80s pop culture, this is much more based in the 80s as they happen.
Yeah, it's supposed to feel like you're being transported back into the 80s as opposed to being transported back in time and watching an 80s movie.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, visually, it feels like reality, but everything is just so authentically 80s, as much as possible, anyway.
Yeah.
There's, like, minor hiccups here and there, but, like, it's...
Yeah, they didn't go to the extent that, like, House of the Devil did, where they're copying the style of 80s movies while doing a movie set in the 80s. It's like, no, they didn't do that. But it is a movie that is set in 1984 where everything looks like it's 1984.
And it feels like it.
It does.
You feel like you're in a little time capsule of a movie.
Yeah.
Even though the movie is filmed in a lot more modern way. But, like... Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed
it's very much a period piece.
Yes. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was... I was really surprised the twists and turns it took. Even though it goes in a direction you know it's going... The way that plays out is different than I expected.
Yeah, exactly. The closest plot the closest way to describe the plot of the movie is it's Fright Night meets the Monster Squad.
Yeah, with a little bit of Burbs in there.
Yeah.
With a little bit of that. Like, it's got that feel. It's got the setting of the suburbs, but it's got that Fright Night, like, oh, am I living next to a serial killer?
Yeah. Basically, instead of the question is, am I living next to a vampire? Not am I living next to a vampire, but am I living next to a serial killer?
Exactly. But, like, it has, like, that Monster Squad. Oh, we're a group of kids and we're gonna solve and investigate this ourselves.
Yeah, we're gonna solve a mystery, just like the Goonies.
So to a certain extent, much like Stranger Things, it's another Goonies like homage style thing. But it's a little bit different in that the kids in this are a little bit older than those movies.
Yeah, they're a little bit older, and this is a little grittier than Stranger Things.
Yes,
like Stranger Things does not shy away from like violence, but there's a certain, but there you're dealing with like another dimension and a fucking supernatural monster.
Yeah.
In this one, everything's super real.
Yeah. And you're gonna be watching this movie, you're gonna watch like the first hour or so, and you're gonna be like, is this really a horror movie? But trust me, there's a point there's a point where the brutality switch is like flipped on, and when it's flipped on, you're like, holy shit, like, yeah, what just happens?
Yeah, this went from being like Monster Squad to being fucking it's
like all of a sudden we're in Seven for a moment.
Yeah. It's
like
all of a sudden we're in some sort of like just brutal 90s thriller, even though it's all set in the 80s.
But it's also got like the movie also has like a heart of gold to it, you know, like that's another thing I really like about this movie is that you really get endeared to the main character, and in particular, one of his friends, the fat dude.
Oh yeah,
because like the characters have such big hearts.
Yeah,
and so you love them even when they're being stupid. Like
yeah. Like in the beginning, the humor reminded me a lot of what what was done with Scout's Guide to Zombie Apocalypse.
Yes.
Because it's very kind of like boys getting together when they're like 15, and what are they doing? They're stealing porn mags.
Talking about sex they never actually had. And
yeah. It felt very real.
Joking about banging each other's moms. Like that's
yeah. So they feel like
there's a lot of like young teenage toxic masculinity in this, but very authentic 80s.
Oh yeah, very much
young teenage toxic masculinity. And it I was sitting there going like, man, I feel like kind of a kid again watching this.
You do.
I feel like a teenager again. But I like it's also like it's got like a romantic subplot, but it's like a realistic one in that like it doesn't go in like the 80s like, oh, everything just works out in the end kind of direction.
Yes and no, it doesn't.
So that's what I kind of mean. It like has a lot of 80s-ness to it, but it's also just a lot more real than a lot of those 80s movies would have been.
It's the romantic subplot in the thing is a guy is got a thing for the girl who used to babysit him when he was a kid.
They're only
but
about
she's
like
only
3 or
4 years older.
Yeah,
so she's like 18, he's like 15.
So it's icky. It's icky to a certain extent, but it's a little bit more understandable.
Yeah. It's a bit more understandable, and it feels it all happens in a way that actually feels like it could have happened.
Yes.
It's not so fucking unbelievable that you're like, dude, that would never fucking happen.
Well, you get the vibe that like she likes him, but you can also tell that she has a little bit of that like, yeah, but he's a little too young. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But she likes him. She does like him. It's one of those like if they were the same age, she'd probably be dating him. Like So she's got like this little bit of like a arm's length to him, but like he really likes her, but like you believe it. It feels authentic,
Yeah.
Like the home lives of all the kids, like the fat kid who has the mom who's working really long hours and there's no dad around, so she's like crying by herself because her life is a mess. Yeah, and she has to handle everything herself, and so like he kind of feels like he has to be the man.
Yeah. She's probably an alcoholic.
You have the punk kid who is kind of the biggest asshole of the group of friends, but like when you see his home life, he's got like an abusive older brother and a mother and father that are constantly at each other's throats.
Yeah, they can't stop fighting.
So like he's constantly worried that like any minute, like he even jokes there's gonna be like a murder suicide in his house. And then you have like the nerdy kid. You don't really learn much about the nerdy kid's life, but he felt authentically nerdy.
Yeah, like you get the feeling that there's probably not a lot in his home life to talk about.
Yeah.
He's like the smart guy who studies, gets the straight A's, like that kind of thing.
The main character kind of has the more stereotypical 80s main character kid home life, where it's like the oblivious parents that are like really authoritarian, but they don't really have the weight of authority to them.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So the idea is that in the summer of 84, these 4 guys they're spending the summer together because they're all friends, and the main character starts to think that his neighbor is a serial killer. Yep.
And in particular, a serial killer that abducts and murders 15-year-old boys. And they're all 15-year-old boys, so they're all potential targets.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's get together and let's solve this so none of us dies,
Yeah. And I'm not sure what we can talk about without spoilering.
Before we get to the spoilers, I think we've talked about a lot of the stuff. I think probably the things I want to say before we get to the spoilers is that all the acting in this movie is fantastic.
It is.
Like, all the kids feel authentic. The guy who plays the serial killer is both authentically charming as well as authentically creepy.
Yeah.
He's equal parts both. So you understand why the parents only see the charming, but the kids see the creepy. It's like it reminded me a lot of Chris Sarandon in Fright Night.
Yeah. You can tell that's what they were pulling from.
Absolutely. The other thing I would say is that if you think this isn't a horror movie, just wait.
Yeah, just keep waiting. just wait. It'll happen.
And with that said, I suppose we'll move on to... Oh, yeah, I watched this on Shudder.
Oh, so it's on Shudder, so if you want to watch it there.
So if you want to watch it, subscribe to Shudder. I don't know if it's available on other platforms. If it is, I'll include an Amazon affiliate link in the description below. If not, subscribe to Shudder because it's got all your horror needs.
That's quickly becoming...
This is even sponsored by them. I just love Shudder.
Yeah, no. Hey, but Shudder, if you want to do a sponsorship deal,
we're your boys. I'll do that. I love Shudder.
At this point, we're you boys because it is actually rapidly becoming my...
Oh yeah, it's been my go-to to watch new horror
I'm
movies.
like, you know what? $5 a month, well spent. I've been watching that shit.
Between Shudder and Netflix, I've been watching a lot of new horror movies through them. So I'm cool with that. And Hulu actually recently, but that's another story for another vlog. And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers. Alrighty then. So, oh jeez, the entire last third of this movie is a pretty big spoiler.
It's okay.
You spend a huge chunk of this movie wondering whether or not the kids are right about this guy or not. But the thing is that there's no alternate suspects.
Yeah, there's no good alternate suspect, despite the fact that they keep throwing red herrings at you. But there's this obvious question with all the red herrings, which is they're not old enough.
Yes. And on top of that, there's also the issue that everything that the guy's doing that's creepy all has a reasonable explanation built into it. It's just the gestalt of them all together doesn't look good.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he keeps buying all this dirt. Well, yeah, but he does a lot of planting, and as established, his plants don't really grow very well, so the dirt in his backyard is shitty.
Yeah.
And later on, you find out that the dirt actually had something to do with this big celebration they were pulling. So
it actually.
So he was planting a lot of fancy plants for that celebration. But like that, for example, or the fact that he's got this bloody shirt of this murder, but at the same time, he's a cop who's investigating the murder.
Yeah.
So it makes sense he might have it.
He might have
the evidence while he's conducting the investigation. So,
Yeah. And
now granted, he probably would have had it in a plastic bag and not just in his garage.
Yeah, not in his murder shed.
Shed.
But
shed of doom.
Yeah. But oh man, that was actually something. Okay, so the kid that I really identified was the punk kid.
Oh yeah,
and the minute he starts picking locks,
yes,
I'm like, God damn it!
If you just wiggle it around, it'll just unlock.
Yeah,
that's not true.
Click, it happens. I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, that is true. Actually, that's how that works.
Yeah, that kid, I identified really hardcore with the fat kid, not because he was the fat kid, but because he was the kid who had to be the man in the single mom household.
Yeah, he's got to take care of his mom.
So that was when it showed that part, I really started relating to that kid. But man, these kids are so great.
Yeah.
I love that they're all multidimensional.
Yeah. They do. God.
But everything the guy does has that's a little creepy, but it makes sense, hey, why is he bringing all this stuff down into his basement? Well, he has a dark room in his basement.
Yeah, because he's a photographer.
He's a photographer. I'm pretty sure he also does crime scene photos, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
everything has some sort of explanation until you get to the last third of the movie where it is pretty much confirmed he is a fucking serial killer. And this is when the kid realizes that, oh shit, all the pictures in his house that we established early on in the movie that I thought were just his estranged relatives, they're all the murder victims.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
I was like, oh my God, they subtly set that up at the beginning of the movie and I paid no mind to it. And then they had it come back at the end and I should have known that was going to happen, but my brain had forgotten.
Yeah, and the moment this movie becomes this movie as opposed to any other film is the moment when the serial killer comes back to enact his revenge for being discovered.
Oh, yeah. Because basically the kids go down into his basement while there's a festival going because this serial killer that's been on the loose, he caught the killer. And so he's going to be celebrated. But the kids know he's the killer.
Yeah.
He's got to be the killer. He didn't really catch the killer. And is it such a coincidence that he caught the killer, but we think he's the killer? Blah, 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 blah. So they break into his house while the celebration's going on, and they find a kid chained up in the basement and another kid dead in a tub.
Yeah.
As well as all the pictures of the victims and stuff like that. And so they free the kid. The killer is now alerted to the police, and he's on the run. And this is the point where it's okay, now what happens? Because everything's out in the open now. And that's when it becomes the horror movie you're thinking it's going to be.
Yes.
But to an extent you don't expect.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Holy fucking shit.
He kills a kid.
Yeah. One of the kids, they don't all make it.
You do not expect it because that's not something that happens in Monster Squad like movies.
Yeah.
All the kids live in Monster Squad, like all the kids live in
all the kids live and they all stay friends at the end.
All the kids live in Stranger Things, but like in this movie, all the kids don't live and they die in bloody ways. Like a fucking slasher movie.
Yeah. You're just like, oh my God.
I was not expecting that. When you just slit that kid's throat, it was just like, oh my God. That kid's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And slid another kid's tendon on his fucking foot.
Yeah, got his Achilles
So he was
tendon.
like fucking crawling around with the fucking leg dangling. It's just like, oh man, well these are definitely the guys who did Turbo Kid because it's about as bloody now.
Yeah, but it's not funny.
No,
and Turbo Kid's super funny.
No, this is not tongue in cheek. Like that chase at the end when he's manhunting them in the fucking woods, like that was legitimately fucking intense. And when he catches the main character and it's just like, this is all your fault, like you brought this on yourself or whatever, you're like, Jesus, holy shit, that actor is amazing because he just went from being like charming and creepy to outright terrifying.
Yeah. Oh God, that whole thing where he's like, you've ruined my life. You've been fucking watching me for an entire summer. Yeah, I've been in your, you've been in my life, and now I'm gonna be in yours.
I love it because he's just like all right, you spent all summer thinking about me, and everything in my being wants to kill you, but that's too good. I want you to keep thinking about me. I want you to go and live a long life, and I want you to have to be looking over your shoulder every fucking day, wondering when am I gonna come back?
Yeah, is today the day he gets me, and one day it will be.
And I'm just like, holy fucking shit. And then the motherfucker drives off and you never see him again. And I'm like, I was not expecting this movie to end on such a fucking horrifying note.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But I love it. I love it.
It was so good.
It's an ending that these movies, if this were made in the 80s, it wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked it. It was able to bring something to a movie like this that these movies don't have. And that's that, like, it has a satisfying conclusion that is utterly horrifying and is not in a neat bow.
Yeah.
And that is a very tough tightrope to walk.
Yeah, well, it's all part of the trick of the movie is the movie starts with an opening line.
Yes.
And it closes with the same line, but the context has completely changed by the end of the story.
Every serial killer has a neighbor.
Yeah. Even serial killers live next door to somebody.
Yeah.
I'm
just like, oh man. Like I love it because this movie kept surprising me. Like you start watching it and you start figuring out, oh, it's basically Fright Night. So you kind of expect you're up for like a Fright Night style romp. And then when it starts getting super serious and dark, you're just like, oh Jesus.
Yeah.
This isn't Fright Night. This is horrifying.
Yeah. This is doing that shit for real. Like it's made more horrifying because he's just a dude.
Yeah.
Because halfway through the story, you are actually kind of wondering if is there going to be a monster?
Yeah, because it's the guys who made Turbo Kid. So you're kind of sitting there going like, is it going to turn out like, oh, he's actually a vampire and it's a Fright Night homage? Is it going to turn out, oh, he's a cannibal? Like, what is it going to turn out?
Yeah. Like it's going to be something like crazy.
No,
like
he's
that.
Just some fucking dude.
He's just a kid murderer
who kidnaps kids, holds them in this fake room he's built in his basement, and then at some point kills them and dissolves their bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. His motives are only hinted at.
What I appreciated about this is a side note. I've been recently, my girlfriend got me into watching Elementary, and the guy who plays the killer in this movie plays one of Sherlock's consultants.
Yeah, he plays a mathematician, right?
Yes, he plays a mathematician who shows up with his shirt off and like solves math problems for him. And the fact that character was in this movie, and the fact that his method of getting rid of the bodies was dissolving them, which was also a plot point with a different character on Elementary. I just kept wondering if the people like came up with this movie while they were watching Elementary.
Yeah, watching the show, like, oh man, we can do it. Let's get that guy.
Also, because I watch way too much Elementary, I was sitting here the entire time going like, that girlfriend's really suspicious.
I guess. Yes. Like the weird thing is that because they throw so many red herrings that couldn't possibly be the killer, you start looking for a potentially supernatural answer.
Yeah.
Because you're like, that will work if someone's a vampire or a werewolf or a ghost or something.
Yeah.
Is that going to be what happens? And then no, it just turns out the first guess was correct. This guy's a serial killer.
The first guess was correct, and when I love that the parts of the puzzle that don't make sense are completed by the end of it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, like why did he have so much dirt? And it's like, oh, because he was doing that thing for that celebration. Okay.
Yeah.
He was planting those flowers for that celebration. It wasn't just his backyard. So that's why he had so much dirt. It wasn't just disposing of bodies. Because it turns out he doesn't bury the bodies. He just leaves them on this fucking island in the middle of this lake.
Yeah. Where nobody goes. Yeah, where nobody fucking
as the
goes.
Kids stumble upon, and it's like that moment in Poltergeist when the bodies in the pool start popping up.
Yeah. I was actually thinking it felt like a lot of moments in The Descent.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah, like
know.
crawling into the cave of bodies.
Yeah,
in the pool of blood and guts.
Oh, yeah.
I love The Descent.
Yeah, this God, I don't even know how to explain this movie. It reminded me. I kept thinking of Charles Burns, the comic guy Charles Burns who did Big Baby. And, Black Hole. And this movie is not paced like that at all, but it's that same kind of everything's nice, everything's okay, everything's normal, except it's not. Which is something that guy Charles Burns loves to do.
One of the stories that was coming to my head a lot when I was watching this movie was The Body, Stand By Me.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of that in this movie.
Yeah, but set in the 80s as opposed to the 50s.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Man,
man.
I'm not even sure what more to say.
It's really
I thought the relationship between the kid and the ex-babysitter was adorable. I thought I love that the parents by the end of the movie realize how hard they fucked up. Because there's a point in the movie in which they find out that the son has been stalking the neighbor and he's convinced the neighbor's a murderer. So they make him go to the serial killer's house and apologize to him.
Yeah.
So now he knows what the kids have been doing.
Yeah.
Which makes him a target of the serial killer.
Yeah, because before it was like they're suspicious of him, but when they have to make the confession, that's when he knows.
Yeah, now he knows for sure what the kids are up to. And before it was just kids like, the kid was around my yard. Yeah, but they're also playing this hide and seek game, so.
Yeah. So it becomes very obvious that he didn't know how much they knew until that moment.
Yeah, and then that's when he officially knew, and that's when he became a target. As the kid finds out when he sees his picture on the wall alongside all the other dead kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and oh my God, I kept finding myself going like, what does he make them do in that room?
Oh my God, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
They never tell us.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But you also get the impression that it's not even like a sexual thing. He seems to hate kids. Like when he's sitting there and he gives them all the otter pops and they walk away and then he just turns to this scowl. I'm like, oh, that's hatred. That's like, that's not sexual compulsion. That's
yeah. Like this guy's.
They don't give you much about his backstory, but you can kind of guess maybe it has something to do with his childhood, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Because he made a room that apparently looks identical to his childhood room.
Yeah, he made like a little shrine to his own childhood. Yeah. And it's right next to the room that he keeps the kids
But what I kind of love about that is that it's like a weird meta commentary on the movie also being kind of a shrine to a childhood.
Yeah.
But like the adult who did that is a fucking psychopathic murderer. And I'm like, I don't know if it's intended, but you could totally read into this movie being like, like we Gen Xers and baby boomers have really taken this nostalgia to a really awful level. Like,
yeah. It's entirely possible.
Like you could. I don't know if that was intentional, but you could. Like
yeah. Well, something was definitely going on with that. Oh man, such a good movie.
Oh, I love it. I highly, highly recommend Summer of '84. Do not accidentally look up Class of '84. That is a different movie.
That's a completely different movie.
But I keep making that mistake myself every time I mention the movie, so I want to bring it up.
Yeah. Summer of '84.
Summer of '84. Class of '84 is a movie from 1984, and that is a cheesy '80s classic.
Yeah,
I say classic in quotation marks.
I think that was that the first of like the school shoot 'em up movies?
Yeah. It was basically like, oh, these delinquent kids in this white bread fucking school oh man, the teacher, I'm gonna fight them. Like,
yeah. Which the thing
it's an after-school special of a horror movie.
And the thing about like Class of 1984 is that I always found myself going like, dude, you're beating up kids, man. Like, at the end of the day, no matter what else is happening, that's happening.
But it was kind of the first of an entire subgenre of teachers versus delinquent kid movies. Like I remember, like, what was it? Like, a 187, the movie where Sam Jackson goes to this like inner city school, and by the end of the movie, he's playing Russian roulette with one of the kids.
Yeah, like. Well, the fucking, there was the one with Morgan Freeman. Was that Stand By Me or Stand and Deliver? And
shit, because one of them has the dude from Battlestar Galactica and the other one has Morgan Freeman. I am now spacing out on which is which.
Yeah.
Feel free to tell us in the comment section because then, off the top of my head, I can't remember.
And then there was that. I think the one where this was kind of like, all right, I think we're about done with this genre. Was Michelle Pfeiffer and the one Michelle Pfeiffer was in.
Gangster's Paradise.
Yeah. That's the reason Gangster's Paradise exists, you know?
Oh, man. Most of those movies are pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I do recommend Class of 1984 because that one is so cheesily awful.
You'll watch it and you're like, the only thing that keeps this from just flat out being a trauma movie is that there's a little too much money on screen. And
it takes itself a little too seriously.
It does.
This movie, on the other hand, Sommer of 84 is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Count_Jackula. You can find me on Instagram at Satanic Jackula, and you can of course find me on YouTube at the Count Jackula Show. Please feel free to check my channel out there.
And if you hear a foreboding sound in the background right now, that's because the street cleaner happens to be going by while we're recording.
Yep.
On top of the construction noise.
Yep.
Man, I'm going to feel like an asshole if I end up editing this and there is no sound in the fucking mix and everyone's just like, what are they talking about?
What are they talking about? That fucking...
That happens to me all the time. Anyway, you know me. I am at The Horror Guru on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, what the fuck ever. Look up Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema. You'll find me there. You're already on my YouTube channel if you're watching this, so you don't need that. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you want to be notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And to give you a little bit of update on Blood Splattered Cinema, I have recorded all the voiceovers for the next one, and we will begin filming sometime in the next few weeks. So, peace out, my fellow gorehounds. Catch you later.